So just very briefly, I want to focus just quickly on Israel and perhaps the reasons for high fertility rates for Israel. Like you said, they are complex, and perhaps duplicating high fertility rates of Israel are not going to be easy for other countries. But what is behind their very healthy fertility rates and very healthy economy?
In my first book, which was actually a book version of my PhD thesis, which is called Demographic Engineering, Population Strategies in Ethnic Conflict, I argued that what we have in Israel and the Palestinian territories is a conflict fertility rate, that actually the sense of backs to the wall, a sense of competition for numbers against the other, has inflated Israeli and Arab fertility rates. If you look at the Palestinians, all the correlates which should suggest lower fertility than their neighbours is actually higher. So they are, for all the propaganda, and until the attack on Israel on the 7th of September, both in Gaza, the West Bank, and Israel itself, they have very good education, very high levels of nutrition, high levels of urbanization, high levels of income compared to the fellahin of Egypt, and yet the fertility is higher. So I think they were, and it's come down. So it's just, in the case of the Palestinians, it's delayed falling fertility because they're in a conflict of the womb, if you like. In the Israeli Jewish case, there was low fertility among those of European origin. As you probably know, hundreds of thousands of Jews were forced out of Arab countries, went to Israel, and they had a high fertility, and their fertility rate in the modern conditions of Israel rapidly fell. So the Jewish fertility rate fell. And then sometime in the early mid-90s, it started to go up. And I think that is partly to do with a sense of backs to the wall, I think, and being surrounded by enemies who wish to destroy you. I also think there is something in the culture, and it's very intangible. But if you look at non-observant Jews in America, they have a very low fertility rate. It's not just a specifically Jewish thing. I think Israel, I've been there a lot, and I think it is a country where people are obsessively pronatal. They love children. They'll smile and give advice to pregnant women. And the government policies in some ways are very pronatal. So there's a lot of IVF. But on the other hand, the rights to go back to the workforce, your maternity rights aren't all that great. And child benefit isn't huge. So there's just something about the culture there. And it may be all stems ultimately. It's very hard to map these things. Sometimes I think, someone was suggesting to me not long ago, something that has occurred to me myself, that atheists have this attack on religion, the God of the gaps, that God explains all the things science can't explain, and then science gradually explains more and more, and God kind of is pushed out of the picture. It's not what I believe, but there is a sort of Richard Dawkins view of the God of the gaps. And someone was saying to me, well, isn't culture the sort of social science explanation of the gaps? What you can't explain in other ways, you call culture. And culture is inherently complex, difficult to understand. But I think you can get going a pronatal culture, and you can often see it in its shadow. So if you talk to Israeli women who don't want children, they'll say, and there's writing about this, how they feel pressured, and the whole cultural environment pushes them towards having kids. Now, I don't know exactly what lessons we can learn from Israel. It's not straightforward, because we are not going to be that kind of back to the wall society, which has had to struggle for its existence from day one. Even though there are lots of secular people in Israel, there is a religious element, ultra and somewhat religious. The more religious you are, the larger your family size. And I don't think that's going to be a big issue in Britain. I don't think we have a pronatal religion. I can't see the Archbishop of Canterbury inspiring people to have larger families. He'd probably be horrified at even the suggestion. So I think it's worth looking at, and it's worth, if we look at it and understand it, and other cases like Georgia, where the metropolitan, the head of the church, said he'd baptized third children and more, and that's appears to have led to some kind of baby boom, or at least a more respectable fertility rate in Georgia. We've got to look at all these examples and try and think through how they apply to us in the UK and in other Western countries. But we're not even going to start this conversation until the authorities, the government, actually says, yes, we have a problem.